When I first met Ethan, it felt like fate had a sense of humor. It was a rainy afternoon in Chicago, and I was late for my college literature class. I burst through the doors, dripping wet, only to find that every seat was taken, except the one next to him. He glanced up from his notebook, smirked, and whispered, "Rough morning." That was the start. Over the next 4 years, Ethan became my constant study partner, late-night diner companion, the person who knew me better than I knew myself. We weren't officially together. We weren't even labeled best friends. But everyone could see the connection between us. People used to joke, "Why don't you two just admit you're in love already?" And maybe that was the problem. The truth is, I was terrified of ruining what we had. Ethan was the most reliable person in my life. He never let me down. He remembered little things, like how I hated pickles on burgers or how I secretly loved cheesy 80s ballads. But love? Love was risky. Love was fragile. And I had watched too many friends crash and burn when they tried to turn friendship into something more. So when graduation came and Ethan finally confessed his feelings, standing under the twinkling lights of the campus courtyard, voice shaking as he said, "Emma, I think I've been in love with you this whole time," I panicked. I smiled weakly, trying to keep my voice steady. "Ethan, maybe we should just be friends." His face froze. For a moment, I thought he'd argue. But instead he nodded once, said, "Okay," and walked away. I expected things to go back to normal. After all, we'd been inseparable for years. Surely one awkward confession wouldn't erase everything. But I was wrong. The next day, he didn't text me good morning. The next week, he stopped showing up at the cafe where we always studied. By the end of the month, he had unfollowed me on social media, erased my number, and vanished from my life completely. I told myself it was temporary, that he just needed space. But weeks turned into months, months into years, and Ethan never came back. At first, I was angry. How could he just cut me off like that? Didn't our years of friendship mean anything? But as time passed, anger gave way to something else, guilt. I replayed that moment in the courtyard 1,000 times in my mind. The way his shoulders slumped when I said those words. The quiet finality in his eyes when he nodded. He hadn't just taken my words literally. He had taken them seriously. I had asked for friendship, but what he heard was rejection. What he gave me in return was absence. Life moved forward as it always does. I got a job in publishing, moved into a small apartment, and dated other people. But none of them lasted. Because every time I laughed at a dumb joke, I thought of Ethan's smirk. Every time someone held my hand, I remembered how his hand had steadied me when I slipped on the icy Chicago sidewalks. No one measured up, not because they weren't good enough, but because they weren't him. 3 years later, I was at a wedding in New York City. It was for a mutual friend from college, and I knew there was a chance Ethan would be there. Still, nothing could have prepared me for the moment our eyes met across the reception hall. He looked different, sharper jawline, broader shoulders, but the same deep brown eyes. For a second, time froze. Then, he turned away. It took me 2 hours and 2 glasses of wine to gather the courage to approach him. "Ethan," I said softly. He looked at me, expression unreadable. "Emma." There was no anger in his tone. No warmth either. Just distance. "I've missed you," I blurted. He sighed. "You said you wanted to be friends, Emma. And I couldn't do that. Not after what I felt for you." My throat tightened. "I didn't mean to lose you." "But you did," he said gently. And maybe that's what was supposed to happen. That night, I cried harder than I had in years. Not because Ethan was cruel, he wasn't. He was kind, even in goodbye. But because I realized too late what I had lost. I thought I was protecting our friendship by rejecting his love. Instead, I destroyed both. And Ethan? He chose self-respect over waiting for someone who couldn't choose him back. Now, whenever I think of Ethan, I don't think of the night he confessed or the silence that followed. I think of the lesson he left me with, that sometimes saying, "Let's just be friends," doesn't save a relationship. Sometimes it ends it. Because for some people, friendship isn't enough. And the ones who walk away, they're not weak. They're the strongest of all.